Today we are talking about the top ways business owners expose themselves to personal liability. Hey there, this is attorney Sarah Holmes of Holmes Business Law PC. We are a business and trademark law firm that also offers general counsel subscription services to business owners. So for most business owners, their number one concern going into business is how do I shield myself from personal liability? Meaning if I own a business and something happens, how do I not lose my home, my retirement accounts, my savings, things like that. And so what most people do is they actually set up a business entity. So setting up a business entity like an LLC or a corporation will be the first step in keeping your business liability ideally separate from your personal liability. So that's always rule number one, is go set up an entity, right? But even for people that have set up an entity, are they doing things within their business that could potentially expose them to personal liability? The answer is yes. There are ways to what's called legally pierce the corporate veil, which means that you actually do have a business entity set up, but you're doing something within that business that would allow someone to get at you personally, to pierce that corporate veil because you've done something wrong that says to the law, look, I didn't bother respecting this corporate form. Someone should be able to get at my personal assets or things I own myself. So what things might someone be doing that exposes them to personal liability? The biggest thing is financial issues, financial shenanigans. And by that, we just mean you are not keeping your business finances separate from your personal finances. So once you set up a business entity, whether it's an LLC or corporation, the first thing you need to go do is open a business bank account. And by business bank account, I mean that is a separate account. It is not your personal banking account where the name of that business entity is the actual legal name on that account. Then that's not good enough because a lot of people do have the business bank account open, but what we find is maybe they started the business before, maybe they're just sloppy, and let's say they are getting paid for something in the business. Instead of that money going immediately to that business account, it's going immediately to their personal account. That is a big no-no if you want to keep yourself insulated as much as you can from personal liability. The money that you make in your business must first always go to that business account, the LLC or the corporation on that account. Then at that point, if you want to transfer money to yourself, to your personal account as payment, distribution, whatever you want to do, that's fine. But really, you need to make sure all payments coming in to your business go into the business bank account. Same thing with expenses. Like it's one thing to, maybe I forgot my business credit card today and I have to, temporarily use my personal debit card. It's a one-off, right? Or maybe an occasional thing. What we get concerned about are people that routinely use personal credit cards and use personal bank accounts to pay for business expenses. Because again, going back to the business bank account, not only should all payments go to that account, but all expenses should come out of that account. So if you really need to pay for things with your business, that money should be coming out of the business bank account, not out of your personal account. The more you mix and match these, the more potential it is that if you ever get in trouble, somebody could make the argument, hey, you weren't respecting this, you're mixing and matching these financials, therefore your personal financial assets should be exposed to liability that you actually incurred in your business. So keep financials separate bank accounts, things like that. Number two is not keeping appropriate records. So if you have an LLC, you're not mandated to keep the same level of corporate records that a corporation is. The problem that we find is that there's a lot of people that for whatever reason, when they started their business, maybe they got bad advice, maybe they didn't know what they were doing, they set up a corporation as their business entity. They didn't set up an LLC. Maybe they were thinking, oh, I want to be an S Corp, not realizing you can actually be an LLC and just change how you're taxed to get the S Corp benefit. So we find a lot of people that have corporations, but the biggest problem is that these people are not keeping corporate records. They have no meeting minutes, they have no resolutions, there might not be a board, there's no bylaws, no shareholder agreement. Those things, when you have a corporation, are not optional, they're mandatory. The problem is that many of those things do not get filed anywhere, and no one's ever checking up on you to see if you're doing them until it becomes a problem. Once that's a problem, it's too late. You can't go back and create like 5 years of corporate meeting minutes. Even if it's just you're the sole shareholder, you are still supposed to be keeping resolutions or corporate minutes. So not keeping appropriate corporate records is a big no-no for potentially exposing yourself to personal liability. The next thing is really not having the right insurance. There's a lot of business owners that might just call their local agent like, hey, I've got State Farm, I'm gonna call my State Farm agent and like ask her for business insurance, right? So while maybe she can sell me some business insurance, for example, like insurance on my office, the fact is like the people at the personal agencies don't often know enough about the appropriate type of business coverage for your business. So for example, if I go to my local personal insurance person, they can't sell me errors and omissions insurance, which just going to protect me if I give people bad advice, right? Often they're not going to sell me employment liability insurance, which is like if I do something and my employees want to sue me. They're not going to sell me data breach insurance, which is like if I do something with data and get sued. They're not really thinking what types of business insurance policies could really benefit me. Later on, if there's some type of claim and I'm like, oh my God, like what do I do about this? We always ask clients, well, where's your insurance policy? Do you have coverage for this? And so many times they say, no, I don't. I never knew there was insurance for that, or I never knew I could get that kind of coverage. No one told me. Because you're really not going to the right insurance agent in the first place. And so if you don't have the right insurance, that leaves you on the hook, or your business, depending on who's being sued, liable for that claim or maybe fulfilling a judgment. So making sure you have really good proper insurance and working with a business insurance broker. Finally, it's just generally being sloppy in your business and not paying for appropriate help. We see so many people that don't bother getting a bookkeeper and their books are never up to date. We see people that try to file their own taxes. We see people that just the business is a mess. They're hiring employees without proper documents. They're doing all kinds of things. This could one day get you in trouble and maybe subject you to personal liability. So you want to really make sure you tighten up your business practices and you have that stuff in line. So of course, if you need help, we have some downloads that you can grab with the link below. We have a membership site where you could also take some courses and get some materials from us. And of course, if you want a consultation, want to become a client, feel free to reach out to our office. Our number is 215-482-0285. Thanks.